schedule it. We tried, both of us have tried to
It's not a
schedule it
big
to
deal.
kick one automatically.
Well,
It just doesn't
First
work.
time on Wednesday?
You're live.
Thank you. All right. Well, good morning, everyone. I'd like to call the June 29th meeting of Preston County Commission to order, and everyone please stand for the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Let the record show that all three commissioners are present: Commissioner Stone, Commissioner Price, and Commissioner Smith. Do we have anyone for the public who should be recognized? I don't see anyone, so that's what you need to know. That brings us down to review of the bills.
Move we pay the bills that are properly presented and approved by the commission.
Second?
All right, we have a motion on the floor and a second to approve and pay the bills. Commissioner Price.
Yes.
Commissioner Stone.
Yes.
Yes. Nothing from the assessor's office. We have no appointments today. And that brings us down to the approval of the minutes for May 25th and June 1st.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
We have a motion on the floor and a second to approve the minutes. Commissioner Stone.
Yes.
Commissioner Price.
Yes.
Yes. Bring this down to the proceedings of vacation.
Move we approve those June 17th through June 23rd from the clerk.
Second?
A motion on the floor and a second to approve the proceedings of vacation. Commissioner Price.
Yes.
Commissioner Stone.
Yes.
Yes.
We have two estate settlements, Newcomb and Titchnell. I move we approve those.
Second?
A motion on the floor and a second to approve the estate settlements. Commissioner Price.
Yes.
Commissioner Stone.
Yes.
Yes. Nothing from the judiciary commissioner, nothing under old business. This time we have some new business. First thing is an application for all-terrain vehicle use in downtown Kingwood by the volunteer fire department.
These requests by the Kingwood Volunteer Fire Department are the typical ones. Nothing's changed. They'll have a reviewing stand. They'll use their ATVs to traverse through the town, but they do come
And
on.
that's just during the Buckwheat Festival?
Yeah, yes, ma'am. That's, so those are not, the sign, those are the typical things they do. So I don't believe there's any changes of anything, but we wanted to officially have you approve those.
All right.
Do you need to approve them so you keep with ordinances they can run with it?
Well, this is
Yeah.
just it's on a
I
double
think
line.
because the roads are running on our state-owned roads, we have to do it.
Okay, I want,
If it was just on city
Like
streets,
on up there?
yeah, but Brown Avenue and places like that are on, in Route 7 are state.
To be on the safe side, because they are lined,
Right.
because they are lined, we just wanted to make sure that we had covered all bases.
I make a motion to authorize the president to sign and approve the application for all-terrain vehicle use downtown Kingwood by the Kingwood Volunteer Fire Department in the use of their signage in our parking lot.
Second.
Motion on the floor and a second to approve this application by the Kingwood Volunteer Fire Department. Commissioner Stone.
Yes.
Commissioner Price.
Yes.
Yes.
I also make a motion to approve the request for permission to use the courthouse lawn for the Buckwheat Festival reviewing stand and permission to use the that was in the first one. Permission to the courthouse lawn.
Second.
Motion on the floor and a second to allow for the use of the courthouse lawn for the Buckwheat Festival review stand. Commissioner Stone.
Yes.
Commissioner Price.
Yes.
Yes. All right. That brings us down to our
And
administrative.
that includes the sign.
It did. I put that in the first motion.
That was in the
by
first one, but that's fine. We'll just, yeah, amended to be in the sign also. All right. Okay, well, that brings us down to you, Ms. Kathy Mace. Good morning, Kathy. Weekend?
Here. I'm not prepared, sorry. The first item that you have is just your membership agreement with the risk pool. Of course, the risk pool covers your liability insurance as well as your workers' compensation. I'd ask that the president of the county commission be authorized to sign the cover sheet to the member agreement. Also, just for your information, we pay the liability biannually and we pay workers' comp quarterly.
Right.
Make a motion to authorize the president to sign the cover sheet to the member agreement with the West Virginia Risk Pool Liability and Workers' Comp Insurance Policy.
Second.
A motion on the floor necessary to authorize the president to sign the agreement. Commissioner Stone?
Yes.
Commissioner Price?
Yes.
Yes.
The next item I have for you is just actually a housekeeping matter. I have two housekeeping matters for you today. One is, it says on your agenda to establish the COVID-19.
Mhm.
That really should, this is to establish the American Rescue Plan
Right.
Fund, which is 207. It just needs the third signature. We have the clerk and we have the sheriff. We're setting this account up just like we do all the others. So it's just a signatory to be able to take action on that account. And Dawn, I just need you as president.
All right.
I don't know, you can make a motion to have him sign, but that's just actually,
It's a
we have to have a
formality,
three
yeah.
signature account.
Yeah.
Uh, Okay, the next item is also housekeeping, and that is before June 30, or by June 30, we have to do the salary schedule for your employees. And I will have this notarized by someone in the clerk since Angie isn't here today. Basically, the salaries remain the same as last year.
Okay.
I do have the one position that we have in the animal shelter will be listed on your sheet as a vacancy because she's leaving us tomorrow.
Yeah.
On that note, I'll just move to, of course, we have no budget revisions today because our last budget revisions on this budget were prior to this meeting. But on that same note with the animal shelter, we have posted the position with the animal shelter and the News and Journal. Also, we have put it on ZipRecruiter because the News and Journal are not publishing in the next couple of weeks. So we're doing that. Also, it should be on Facebook and the website. We're having a tad bit of trouble with our Facebook account due to
The admin.
Yes,
people that
yes,
were in
ma'am.
charge
Yes,
just
ma'am.
need to be
Yes,
corrected
ma'am.
and
Needs to be corrected.
reset up, passwords
Right.
changed. We've gotten locked out due to change in employees.
So we're gonna take care of that, and we're just, I'm not a Facebook expert, so I'm trying to go to them to get some assistance with that. But, those applications, we've already had someone come and visit the office to get one, so we hope we get a lot of candidates. I believe they're due back in the office July the 12th. Have made arrangements with Kelly to address that absence during that time. The one holiday that we have, I have a couple of employees in a situation that they were on vacation when the governor declared that new holiday. So I'm giving them 30 days to try to get that in because they just arrived back today. So I only got 2 days to try to work that in before, so I'm just giving them permission to have the month of July to absorb that day because we do owe them that day. Because they were on vacation when it actually happened. So we'll take care of that and then that will be fine. There's only 2 out of all the employees that we have, so we'll take care of that. Under miscellaneous correspondence, I'll just review some things that we're working on today. H.E. Newman is here to do what we call preventative things for the spring. That occurs 2 times a year. It's kind of like turnover time, I call it, where you're looking at air. That probably should have happened a little bit earlier, but we just entered into a new relationship with them.
Right.
So they're here today to do your buildings. Also, I had a meeting with, you've had discussion with the health department about perhaps a site near 911 for a potential building. So I went over and I met with a contractor yesterday to talk about the dirt that was moved in to that location. So I've met with VJ, who is moving forward on trying to get at least a footprint or some kind of design or whatever, and then we'll meet again about the dirt. But we have to solve the dirt problem. Or it's not a problem, it's just that it would have to be excavated to make it a building site. So I did do that. We do have I'm taking some photographs today, or having Mark do it for me, the drive-through where we have a forensics place down there. Not an engineer, but it looks like we're having a little bit of a foundation issue there.
Right. Yeah.
believe it's on a concrete slab. It appears like it's moving, but we're not experts. So I'm gonna send that off and see what, we may need a more in-depth inspection of that, but before a lot of money is invested in putting more furnishings and those kind of things down there, we wanna make sure, you're welcome to go look. You can see that the window is separating this way.
Yeah,
So-
Mark, when I talked to him the
Yeah,
other day, he
yeah.
explained to me and I did look at it and yeah, there's some structural.
Something,
There's some
something's moving.
structural issue.
Something's moving. So we want to just make sure that that's not something that, we don't want to proceed with a bunch of updating and those kind of things if we've got a problem there. So I'm going to send those off and see what we have. I was successful in meeting with having a telephone conference with the auditor's office. We are approaching 4 audits due us. One, a single audit, which would be for this year because of the CARES funding that we received. The way that works is you're required to have a single audit when you expend. Well, since the money that we received was a reimbursement on CARES. Now, I'm not talking about American Rescue, I'm talking about CARES. Since that's a reimbursement, that is an expenditure. So that means this budget that we're currently closing out will be a single audit. So we were approaching 4. I got a promise from the auditor's office that in this fiscal year, we'll knock 2 of those out.
Okay.
Because it's becoming financially a hardship in your budget because I have to keep adding.
Yeah.
And that single audit is,
It's more and more expensive every
Right,
time it
and
gets.
I wasn't
Every time they
prepared
get
for
another
them.
year, that's even more expensive.
correct. And I wasn't prepared for a single audit going into this fiscal year. So I think that, I was pleased that they would, because they first said 1, and I said, no, we have to have 2, so they have committed to 2. We believe the auditor will be here in mid-August. That will really help Mary to prepare all the documents for those couple of years. Cleanup ordinance, I just need some guidance from you all. You did get comment. You got comment from at least 2 or 3 of the members. So just wanted to make sure before I start editing and preparing one for first reading. I'd like for you to get back to me as soon as you could. If you have anything that you want to modify about the, and which ordinance that you want me to prepare and move forward with. If you have any modifications that you want me to prepare for first reading, then I really need those, and we can put that on next week's, well, probably, I will do my best to have it done by next week. The American Rescue Plan are having webinars very frequently, and those are about reporting and compliance. So sometimes I'm pulled away from what I'm doing. Those last about an hour and a half each time they have
Why
one.
don't we just go ahead and plan for the meeting in 2 weeks?
That's
Just because there's a lot going on.
well, and I don't know what you all, I need
Well,
to hear your feedback
On
on
the
that.
6th, I actually have a meeting, a CDB meeting at 1:30 also that Tuesday. So I don't
Okay,
know.
but we're gonna meet on the 6th.
In the morning.
Now, remember, on July 6th, I scheduled a meeting for you all. That meeting needs to be brief. Remember that? Because that is, yes, that was the congressman. That's
I
correct.
thought that was today.
I have it July 6th. Am I wrong?
It's on our calendar for today.
It's on their calendar
Maybe
today.
it was something you sent and rescheduled.
It could be another meeting at City Hall at 10:30.
Yeah, because
Let me
that one's
check.
10:30, because I have a meeting with McKinley next week on the 6th. It's at 1:30 though.
Okay,
so-
well, that's on
So we would be
tourism.
looking at the 13th. So our
That's
next
fine.
meeting is the 6th.
That's
Do
fine.
we want that on there for the ordinance on the 13th?
I'd rather.
First reading?
I'd rather,
That's
so that I'm
That's
prepared.
fine,
Yes.
let's do that.
13th,
I-
first reading.
Because I'm
Make that
kind of
hard.
waiting feedback to make sure that, because this time around, we want to make sure that we've addressed all your concerns so that this can move along the schedule and I can publish and do all those kind of stuff. So we'll put it for the 13th. And I will check on that meeting. Perhaps it is today.
Yeah,
It's
that's
with,
what's on our calendar.
okay, all right. Well, then, that's what it is. Let me see what else I
We'll
have.
go over there, if nobody's there, we'll just, that's how it'll be at 10:30.
Oh, I want you to consider, we'll put it on for next week,
Uh-huh.
and I will meet with bookkeeping. But we have the County Commissioners Association of West Virginia meeting at Canaan
Right.
on the 25th through the 27th. if we don't have any impending, well, now, if we present that first reading, we may have to meet sometime during that week, but we may consider canceling that meeting since I believe we're all going to be out of town
Right.
for that meeting. So I will have something for you next week on that. Also, I had presented to you, and I would like a decision soon, sooner the better. I had come before you and requested a part-time temporary position to transition that bookkeeper or that associate up there position. And I do need a decision on that because right now she's leaving tomorrow, and I'd like to get her back if we can. She's willing to do a transitional type position at least by mid-July, because that's when we do a lot of planning and that kind of stuff, and we wouldn't even have our applications in from the new person, so I don't think that hiring would come until perhaps even the end of July. So it's a big month to have that kind of gap. She is willing to come in and help transition that person. So I would like a decision on that, and I'll be happy to put that on the agenda for July 6th. I just really need a nod on that.
Why don't you do that?
Okay.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned.
I will, I don't have it on the agenda today. I would have to bring forward a hire. That I would like to say that is who I'm considering, because it's a transitional type environment.
Well, that's a perfect fit. I mean,
And she's willing.
Yeah.
She's willing. So I'll bring that forward at the next meeting, but you have to understand that the money is coming from the investment fund.
Right.
So I'll need to have permission to draw down from the investment fund. One other item on the animal shelter, still proceeding on. I did do some research on how much your sewer bill would be if we would move forward with sanitary sewer up at the animal shelter. I don't have a definite price on the pipe that we would have to purchase, which would be an upfront cost, but it looks like it's going to be an additional $200 a month for the sewer up there. So that would be a budget revision. We'd have to look for somewhere. We do not have that in the budget. I am moving forward to give you a complete package on what the pricing of the pipe would be, but I wanted you to be aware that that would be an additional $2,400 or something that we'd have to put in that utility. So you need to be thinking about that, because when I bring forward the quote, that money also would come from the investment fund to improve that sanitary sewer, or the sanitary sewer up there. I think that's all. I did send out all the forms. If you remember, I presented you a form on the ARP for infrastructure. I did send that to the request you had for broadband as well. That went to Public Service District number 4. Tunnel to Denver had approached you. The EDA had approached you about broadband, and PSD number 1. On the municipal projects that you had given letters of support to, those are ones that I did not send the form to, because I'm not sure what the utility, the municipality is going to do. There was also one that you received from, I believe it was Kingwood Water, concerning Pleasantdale. And because it was a request that came to the county commission, I did send them a form on the one about Pleasantdale. I believe that came to you from Chairman DeRicci. So I did forward that on. Those are due back, I believe, July 16. Once I get those back and once I get all the information, then you'll be able to lay all those out. You should be comparing everything. No promise for any funding went with the form. It was just so that you have, as we're preparing for whatever. The other thing I would like you to do is, I think finally the interim rule comment is due pretty soon. So I don't think the categories are going to change. The categories that you have to choose from. So that is one thing that as you're looking forward, thinking, it would be important that you all look at those categories and decide, so far we've been approached by infrastructure mainly, but there are other eligible
Right.
things going on. So we want to make sure we know approximately how much money, or definitely how much money we're going to get. So if you guys would look at those categories and be thinking about, do you want any type of investment in any of those categories with your money? That would be helpful as we move forward. And I may have to develop a little bit different form to approach any of those other categories. Okay, so be thinking about that. If you can get that to me, we'll be discussing that as we go along. If you have any ideas, if you've been approached by someone in any category, I do need to have something in writing, an email with contact information.
Anything I've received, I've
something.
forwarded on to you. And I've received
Yeah,
it.
especially if it's in a request form,
Yeah.
because some people will just stop you and say, hey, I know you have a lot of money, I'd like to have
To
some.
me, that's not a request.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
But for me to respond to anything, and do need to know if you all have any ideas about what you would like in its totality to look to fund from the money. Do you have any questions for me?
I think going forward with this, with all these things, I think we're gonna have to have, if nothing else, some work sessions that are geared to this, so that I just think that we just have to do that. We used to have work sessions, and I think that they were beneficial.
I'll be happy to anytime you want to. One real question before us on infrastructure is this is federal money and you can't use this as a match.
Right.
Yeah, and so,
They've not answered that, have
well,
they? I mean, they
They
said
answered
Well,
it,
the
and
auditor
it's
did.
no.
The answer is no.
but the question for me is, these projects, have the federal funding in, perhaps it's to buy some kind of equipment. Well, if that equipment is purchased and you move it out of the project, and it's before a project is submitted, that's kind of the gray area for me right now that I'm trying to get an answer. And I can just tell you, I mean, Treasury's been wonderful about doing the webinars that, you're sitting there by yourself and they have 6 presenters, each of them in a specialty, and you're just kind of trying to absorb all of it. So each time, right now it's on reporting and compliance. We will have a report due on August 31. Important to note that the money isn't something that you have to expend today. In fact, we hope to meet again in September or close to that with all those parties we met before, just to see how things are progressing for them as well. They are, I believe it's classified as unentitled section, which means their funding stream is coming from the state, where ours has already been direct deposited from the Treasury. The reporting is a little bit different, but I know that it's important that we know how the projects are developing. So we're anxious to get the forms back. I've had contact with everyone. The ones for Tunnelton and PSD number 4 went to Sheena Hunt at Region 6.
Right.
And the others went to Robbie, to City of Kingwood. So I think, and Danny Layton, and I believe they have an engineer, and PSD number 4 had an engineer, so I tried to get all those out. The PSD number 4 generator project is moving along now. It's getting a little bit more speed. So it was just complicated. We had a lot of moving parts in that. So I think we're doing better there, and we'll try to get that project done as soon as we can.
Do you think some assistance for navigating and webinars and everything, could you use more than you to Sally or somebody who could
I think,
take part in some of these webinars and
well, I
this
think if
communication?
you're doing the reporting and compliance, if you are doing the reporting, you have to have a good grasp of, I don't think on the webinars. I think where we're going to come to that, Dave, is compiling. I think if I could say this, it sounds very complicated, but I think you just got to get down into the dirt. It sounds really complicated because it's so much information coming at one time. It sounds to me like the reporting is pretty clear cut, but the amount of record keeping and the amount of the volume of stuff that will be coming in, I think that we can talk about that later. I think we're all, including Treasury and including the state and we're just kind of trying to navigate the muddy water right now. I do think that along the line, some of it's intimidating because you feel like you're outside your expertise a little bit, but I'd like to reserve, I'm glad you're offering, but I think that as we get down into the projects where you're going to get, where the compliance issues come in, right now we're planning, so, but when we start allocating.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I just, in the preparation, something, if one person is gonna try to navigate all those changing rules and all the communications between the interested parties and still maintain the daily, work, the things we've got going on, like, we have a couple of ordinances that we'll be looking at, and those take your time, and those are more important for you in a lot of ways than to us. I
think it's absolutely the commission's decision of who you want doing what work. That is
it's just that I don't have a who. I have a. It's too much for one person.
Well,
and I think the others, can talk about that, but I just.
And that's what I hope that when we go in July, that's this meeting is extremely important because it's just like when I did the ID me to get in there and I found my stumbling block. Do you know how many counties I talked to that were at that exact same stumbling block? So I may have a stumbling block that another county has already resolved. Mm-hmm. So I think that I've been talking to my peers as we go along. So I think that meeting, I've talked with the auditor, they're dedicating almost an entire day to the ARP stuff. So I think that.
It's going to be good. It's going to be a really worthwhile.
And it may be, Dave, that they're even setting something up that we can tap into. So I certainly understand, and I'm not saying no at all. I just want to use our money wisely and at the appropriate time.
Well, I think
you
are in there with us.
Well, one thing I will mention is the state approved the jail bill.
Yay!
Good.
For 1 year, right?
For 1 year, yeah.
Perfect.
Revisit it expires July 1st, 2022, so.
Gives us time.
Yep.
Perfect.
Gives us some time, which is good, so hopefully it'll come to some resolution. Here
Just the
next year.
14%.
Just the.
Yeah.
It's going to
Oh,
remain.
yeah.
No, they're freezing.
No, I think
it
you're with the real happy dance.
What they're doing is freezing it at the current level.
Right.
So it's still going to be.
Let's just be clear.
So we don't have to go find a bunch of cash all of a sudden.
That would be.
You can
Bad enough
just
you get
report
one.
that,
Bad enough, we
Commissioner
gotta drop $1 million.
Stone had hoped that they would just take the bill clear.
I mean, that's what I think they ought to just eat it all anyway, but
Yeah.
the whole thing.
Well, I hope
That's pretty
springs
good.
eternal, we'll
But
see.
just being clear, because.
But I just wanted to let everybody know that, so that's a big
That's
That's a big sigh of relief. That's a big sigh of relief that we didn't have to find another bunch of cash. All right, that being said, any other commissioners have anything? Commissioner Sting, do you have anything coming up that you'd like to make us aware of, or anything that just happened that you'd like to make us aware of?
I have a meeting this afternoon for a couple hours. I think we're at a point with the EDA where we are selecting an actual vendor for
Good.
the new website for the
Awesome.
Economic Development Authority. We've been working really diligently and hard on that to get that nailed down. And it's still a process. It's not something that you will see take flight, immediately. It's a lot of work to get something like that as grand and as wonderful and useful that it will be for the county, for economic development. And so I would say once we nail down, the actual company, we're probably looking at least 6 months, for a site to go live.
And that's something that we're, as commission, looking at too, right?
Yeah. So, I'm very excited for that. It's been something that I've felt very strongly about. It's my 2 years on the Economic Development Authority that we need to get all of that updated and moving forward. So, that's a good thing.
For you, Commissioner, we will get more aggressive with that after our new contract starts this week
Okay.
on the website.
I've had a couple of people reach out to me with concerns on, I believe it's PSD2 that's expanding out the Herring Road.
That is correct.
With the grant.
Mhm.
And so I've had a couple of people reach out to me. There appears to be, like, where they're going to, I believe the name of the road, and this is just me trying to remember the conversation, was Saddlebrook Road. There is one family that's less than 100 yards from them connecting into at the end of the road. To me, that doesn't make good sense. Why would you put in all this new water, for the families out there, and there be one family on the road that they're stopping at this address and not finishing the one person that's left out? Why, I don't get that. So I'm going to be looking into a little bit of those types of things, because I kind of feel like all over the county, that's the issues that we have with all of the separate PSDs, is that if we can just bridge just a little bit, there's a handful of people that have nothing, that if we can figure that little bit out, there's a lot of just lost parties in between all of the territories for PSD1, PSD2, PSD4, whatever it might be. And I just think it's kind of silly to go through the expense of, all of this water project just to leave one person out. That's not,
Can you, get the actual, make sure,
I have all
You
the
have all that?
information.
okay, you, all right.
Yep, I have it. So
This happens.
it
It
does.
does. I got, since you mentioned it, I got a call. They're in between two.
Right.
And in their situation, they called me to ask me which place that they would be asking for water, whether it be PSD 2, Kingwood, or if it would be PSD 1.
And in some instances, I feel like, because the way that it was explained to me from the person that had reached out was, PSD2 is saying that it's actually Masontown, which is MUB, would service this person. But to come up through there in that Bull Run territory and all of those places would cost a lot more than just PSD2 expanding out
Well,
just 100 feet.
Part of that problem though is like, with that one, Kingwood Water and PSD 1 has to
There's
come to us
territories.
about that one person wants to switch from one to the PSC, the state PSC is the one that says, no, you gotta stop here.
Right.
And that's where the problem was in some situations. It's not Kingwood Water would be probably more happy to put a person in.
Right.
But with the PSC,
But you
here's-
can request,
but
you can
right,
request
you
that
can't
they
just-
vary
you
that.
can't
to come in and
stop
done.
and say, okay, the PSC said so, we need to
correct.
take
Well,
the
yeah.
concern, and
Oh,
we
yeah.
need to be diligent in
Mhm.
figuring out how we can get somebody to claim them, because
Right.
it's not fair just to leave them out there in limbo because PSC said so. So
Yeah, I agree.
we need to, challenge that and go through the hoops, so to speak, to get them to wherever they need to be. Someone's got to start picking up the gaps, in this, or we're never, we're going to continue to face the challenge of, there's a lot of rural places out here that's even more rural than the entire county put together, but we could make those properties and those areas in the county a lot more attractive if we start looking at how we bridge the gap.
I'm sure several customers that could be picked up with a little movement of the
Just,
boards.
yeah,
If
yeah.
Nothing else. Anyway, that's good. I think, that's a good project. Maybe even.
Well, I
with
think
this
it's
in mind.
fantastic if they're taking in all these people and it's just one person that they're missing, maybe they don't truly realize it.
Yeah. And that's how the possible, if they're not aware of it.
wonder, sometimes they make the opportunity for the property owner to incur some of the costs to do this. And, a lot of times, I know a lot of people couldn't afford to do that, but on the other hand, there are some that could assume maybe half the cost or something to do that.
Yeah.
That 100 yards that you talk about, that could be maybe made whole for new property owners to buy that and build homes. And then I think that the property owner, if he had expenses in it, could get some of that back when there are others that sign up, maybe move in, build a house because they ran the water.
Well, 100 yards for public water seems.
Yeah, I agree with you. All right. Anything else?
I don't think so at this time. I have a lot of areas that I'm out checking into, some different things, of course, continuing with the roads, and there's a lot going on with that, Again, money coming down from places that we're just not sure where they're gonna interject those funds that they're receiving, due to all of this craziness, but it's certainly something that we just gotta continue to push forward.
Commissioner Price, do you have anything coming up or anything that just happened?
Vacation just happened. I can tell you about that. That was good. Next week we have a LEPC meeting. And that will be at 8:15 and our meeting here is at 9, so I'm gonna do my best to get business taken care of at the local emergency planning committee and be here by so I'm not still working with EMS projects.
That's on the 6th.
The
Is that our-
next Tuesday.
Yeah.
So if I'm not
Here on site, we'll know where you're at.
exactly, I'll be here.
You got it.
So that's part of it, but, still working the other stuff. And I really am anxious to get this ordinance going with the cleanup.
Just need you guys to review all your comments and get back.
Been some individuals in some of the communities that have shown some interest in maybe being able to, once we vet it and decide it and do it, that they would maybe look at, picking up on that same ordinance.
Okay.
And that'd be good. So,
Anything else?
No.
All right. Like I said, we have that meeting coming up at 10:30 supposedly.
Yeah, that's actually, the congressman is at, the city of Kingwood.
Right.
With the water, and,
Right.
so, you were invited to.
Right. So, and like I said, next week I'm.
That's with tourism, that's
Tourism
right.
thing, it's 1:30, so, next week. So, really, that's it. Everybody have a wonderful 4th of July weekend, it's coming up. Celebrating the birth of the country. All right, that being said, we are adjourned.
Turn
Turn it on.
Hey, I did that so often.
Some days I didn't just get going.